I'm Michelle,
And I'm Isaiah.
and we welcome you to Shifting Veils. If you like the unexplained, possibly paranormal, and always strange, stick around a while as we explore the possibilities of what is beyond our natural senses.
And tonight we'll be talking about sleep paralysis.
So, if you've ever had sleep paralysis, it can be one of the most terrifying experiences to have. Have Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
I have not, but I've known people that have.
I have. And maybe I'll talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, I was really, really young the first time it happened. It's happened a few times since then. But
I think
yeah, it's kind of scary.
I think the closest thing I've even had to it is out of body experiences, and that's the closest thing I've had to it.
The first time I had it, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it existed. So it was especially terrifying. And it wasn't a time whenever you could just like pick up your smartphone and Google stuff. There weren't smartphones.
You had to go to a library,
Yeah.
look at a Dewey Decimal.
Right. No, we had what was it called? The where you could go in the computer and look at like old newspaper
Oh,
clippings.
microfilm or micro,
Microfiche.
yeah, micro. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, see, we had a little bit of technology, just
I don't
that
know.
much.
Those weren't really computers. Those were just like big magnifiers, basically.
Basically, yeah, it's kind of funny. Okay, so sleep paralysis is a temporary sense of paralysis, but contrary to the name, you're conscious. During an episode of sleep paralysis, you're awake but unable to move or speak. According to Harvard Health, this condition occurs between stages of wakefulness and sleep. So we're talking like as someone is falling asleep or as they're waking up, that transition period. It's considered an REM parasomnia, REM meaning rapid eye movement, and parasomnia meaning an abnormal behavior that occurs during sleep.
And real quick question, because
Uh-huh.
you looked into this stuff. So REM, as far as I understand, is the moment when you hit REM, that's when you start to recharge. Your body heals, right?
Yes.
So it happens in between as you're going in or coming out of REM.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So during the REM stage of sleep, a person's eyes move quickly. I mean, obviously, rapid eye movement is what REM stands for. This is when vivid dreaming occurs. And like you said, when your body kind of starts to recharge, on a cellular level, you kind of repair and heal. But so the muscles of the body are relaxed during that time. And it's to reduce your movement because you start to dream and your brain is actually causing this relaxation. Neurotransmitters like glycine and GABA inhibit the motor neurons in the spinal cord, which prevents them from firing and causing muscle contraction. It's something called REM atonia. Atonia just means the lack of muscle tone or paralysis. This happens each time you sleep. So anytime you lay down and are asleep long enough to start to enter REM sleep, you could be taking a nap on the couch or in bed for, if you're lucky, 8 hours. I don't know anyone that does that,
I,
but you know what I mean. So, like,
I know. I
every
know
time,
a lot of people that go that many hours. I go like 2.5 to 3.
I'm happy when I can, like, get
Right,
consecutive
exactly.
hours. Yeah. So, the purpose of it is to keep you from physically acting out your dreams. And it typically ends when you wake up.
So it keeps you from not being a little dog that runs in place, right? Or
Right.
you've
It
seen the
could,
video of the cat riding the bicycle or whatever.
yeah. It can potentially keep you from doing some pretty bad things while
Yeah,
you're
sure,
sleeping, too.
sure.
Actually, I've heard of cases where, like, there's been myrtle
Myrtle.
murder trials because like the only one I can think of right now is a husband killing his wife in his sleep, and supposedly he had some sort of sleep disorder and did it in his sleep. I don't know. But I
That
mean, people have
that's
sleep disorders, you
that's
know, and
actually. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say that that actually makes me think. This is off topic, but on topic of a concept album that a band made. I want to say it was like a band called Boy Likes Girls or something like that.
Yeah.
And they did a concept album about the whole album made a story, and from song one all the way to like track, I think it was 10 or 11 tracks. They told a story about a man who uh, killed his wife in his sleep. He didn't know he did it until he woke up. He went into a mental institution and he like hurt himself while he was in there, and he ended up like killing himself at the end of the album and everything,
Yeah.
and was like re-met with his wife and everything, and his wife still loved him and stuff. And it was just like it's a crazy album, but that's what you just said made me think of that.
Well, I mean, yeah, now I'm curious. Now I need to go back and look up this case because I know that I watched something about this case a few years back, but
Mm-hmm.
so this atonia, like I said, typically ends whenever you wake up. But during sleep paralysis, you wake up suddenly from REM. You are regaining awareness, but your muscles are still relaxed in atonia. So you feel as though you're paralyzed. In addition to atonia, the mental imagery of REM sleep also seems to persist even as you're in an aware state. These episodes can last several seconds to several minutes. You feel awake and in a conscious awareness. You can see your surroundings, and in some cases, because the vivid imagery from your REM sleep persists into this state, people sometimes see things, terrifying things. Add to all that you're unable to move to protect yourself from whatever your dreams have invited into your bedroom. It's scary for most people. This is not a pleasant experience.
Doesn't sound pleasant, I'll say
No,
that much.
it scared the crap out of me. I
Yeah,
slept with my mom for like 3 nights.
let's say, do we want to get into what you saw or no? It's up to you.
Well, we can touch on it a little bit because I kind of want to get in. Before I do, I want to get into the things that can cause it.
Okay, you want to go a little further? Okay.
Yeah.
Sleep paralysis can be caused by stress, being sleep deprived, narcolepsy, PTSD, substance abuse, and certain medications. And by
Okay, stop,
this,
stop, stop. That's all I needed you to say. The medications.
okay.
So whenever that first happened to me, I was a teenager and I had been placed on Paxil, which is
Hmm.
a antidepressant medication. And I was on it for about a week, and this happened. Like I went to bed and I woke up on my back. I mean, I fell asleep on my back, woke up on my back. I couldn't move at all. And I actually had there a certain type of hallucination, but I experienced that. And what I saw was like a humanoid figure like hovering over me. And it was, I want to laugh because it sounds ridiculous, but it was actually terrifying. This thing was black and reddish in color. It looked like, have you ever watched American Horror Stories?
Yeah.
You know, the guy in like the latex suit
Hmm.
or whatever. It was shiny like that, but it had like this really long tongue and it was trying to lick my face.
So it's like a mix between Darth Maul, the latex guy from
And
American Horror
Venom.
Story, and Venom. I was gonna
Yeah.
say a liquor from Resident Evil.
I know. I want to laugh about it, but oh my God, it was so
That
scary to
doesn't
me.
sound like it'd be a very pleasant view.
I mean, all I could do was move my eyeballs. I could not move my body. It was terrifying. And I, like I said, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know sleep paralysis existed. I didn't know what it was.
Sure.
And I just kind of willed my body to like roll off my bed eventually. It seemed like forever, but eventually I was able to move and get off the bed. And I scrambled into my mom's bedroom next door. And I stayed in her room, I think 3 nights. I didn't sleep too much. And I kept having sleep paralysis, but I didn't ever see anything again during those times. And I forgot to take the Paxil for a day. And that night I didn't have the sleep paralysis. And I was like, okay, that's enough. That's enough for me
Sure.
to decide maybe this is what's happening. And I just quit taking it. And I will say this, I'm not telling anyone to stop taking anything the doctor's prescribed you.
Right.
I want to make that point clear. If you feel like you need to do that, talk to your doctor first. But I quit taking it. The sleep paralysis stopped. And yeah, I don't ever want to take Paxil again. So I think that when that happened to me, that was induced from the Paxil. I have had experiences since then, but I know now that I have a sleeping disorder. But when I have them now, it's kind of like I wake up in a panic attack. I don't really see anything. It's not like that first time that it happened, and they're over really quickly. So, anyway, that's my story time.
Well, I do believe because I've heard a lot of different experiences with Paxil specifically because I went on to a lot of different medications for depression and stuff like that. And Paxil was never offered to me, but I do know a lot of people who did take Paxil, and Paxil does something chemically to people, man. Because nobody that I know that I've talked to has had a good experience from Paxil.
Same. Yeah. Say from everybody I know that's taken it, it's not been something that anyone has ever stayed on. Anyone I know that's taken it has had problems. It obviously works for somebody because they
Hmm.
keep prescribing it, but nobody I know.
Right. Uh. All right. By this standard, it sounds like everyone I know, which is, and surely it is all of us, we just don't all wake suddenly from REM during it. This is a phenomenon that takes place globally, and while it is difficult to pinpoint a country or region of the world that experiences it more than others, a study was conducted in 2023 by Sleep Seeker, which I do believe we'll have a link to put into the description, so you can go and check out these studies.
Yeah.
They used Google search volumes and trends to discover suspected regions that are home to the most sufferers of sleep paralysis and where the condition is on the rise. It turns out that the country at the top of that list is Australia, with a total of 1,350 Google searches per 100,000 residents. The United States of America comes in second at 1,203 searches for 100,000 residents. We're going to leave the link, like I said, in the Sleep Seeker, the link for Sleep Seeker in the information for the episode. So,
So we know that this is a global phenomenon that reaches all areas of the world, but the cultural interpretations are widely varied. Through science, we understand the physiological cause, but the reason behind what people see, feel, and sometimes hear remains somewhat a mystery. I can read. The medical community largely calls these things that people see, hear, and feel during sleep paralysis hallucinations. I I apologize because I don't remember the type of hallucinations they're called, but they're not the same type of hallucinations that say someone that has schizophrenia or bipolar has. They're a different type of hallucination. They differ from dreaming in that dreams typically have storylines with superimposed images, while hallucinations involve things you see, hear, or feel that are not there in the present moment. The medical community believes the images you are seeing during sleep paralysis are actually created in the mind. And I specify that the medical community believes that because usually the people that have it happen to them typically feel strongly that these things are real and tangible. If you would have told me whenever I had my first episode of sleep paralysis and I saw the thing that I saw, that my mind created that, I would have told you that you were crazy, that you were the one that was like didn't know what you were talking about because I definitely saw that. So,
Well, and
so
see that's a difference there too, because you typically when a person hallucinates, they don't typically make physical contact with something, and
okay.
if somebody's making an audible or getting an audible hallucination, they do hear it,
Yeah.
but they can't pinpoint a place. Whereas somebody like having one of these sorts of hallucinations, they feel like when they're having physical contact with these hallucinations during sleep paralysis, they feel that on their body. They feel
Yeah.
that presence there. They feel
Dude, I
that
felt
breath, if
pressure.
that's what it is. You see? Yeah, exactly.
I felt the pressure of like something on me. And while it wasn't laying on me, there was pressure like on my upper chest and on my wrists and down around by my ankles. So it in my mind I was being held down basically.
Hmm.
And I think that that's a common thing for people or they just feel the pressure on their chest like the weight on their like the trunk of their body.
Hmm.
So yeah, that kind of it makes it click in your mind. Wow, this is actually happening to me. I see something on me and I can feel it on me. This is real.
Yeah, and I think that would make it even scarier. That'd
Hmm.
even be more terrifying. And then having, trying to go and discuss it with somebody and then be like, no, there's nothing there. And you're thinking, am I crazy?
Let me
Because I
give you a
felt
different
that.
pill.
I felt that here.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh,
So we wanted to kind of get an idea of how far back reports of this phenomenon were recorded. We wanted the lore, I guess you could say, because it really does seem that what people experience is greatly influenced by their culture, religion, and geographical location even. Hippocrates is reported to have one of the earliest known accounts, around 400 BC, of what we now recognize as symptoms of sleep paralysis. He referred to the sensation of immobility and chest pressure. While Hippocrates implicated scientific theory, Greek mythology introduced. You're gonna have to help me here. Ephialtes,
Epheltes. Epheltes.
Ephialtes,
Yeah.
meaning to leap upon, a spirit, a spirit thought to physically oppress sleepers, and a way to explain those same sleep paralysis symptoms supernaturally.
The Romans expanded on those beliefs with entities like the incubus, a male demon who drained energy from sleepers, and the succubus, a female demon who preyed on men, both of them causing unwanted sexual arousal and at times having sex with their victims. In 1664, a Dutch physician recorded the first official clinical account of sleep paralysis in his case study of a woman who experienced a sensation of an incubus. His work reflected a shift toward a naturalistic and medical explanation of the phenomenon, separating it from purely spiritual or mythical interpretations. But science doesn't really seem to nullify tales of spirituality. It does seem to add to our understanding of the neurophysiological mechanisms involved and how we process these events, though. It's striking how we not only have these diverse things we see during sleep paralysis, but also the similarities among reports.
And most commonly experienced among sufferers of this specific sleep abnormality are paranormal or spiritual phenomena, like ghosts pressing down on the person, like you were describing,
Mm-hmm.
demons or demonic possession, or shadow people, and even alien abduction. Those from Italy, Brazil, South America, or Newfoundland commonly report what has been called the old hag, which that's going to strike a lot of notes in a lot of people's head. That's probably the most commonly noted one that I know of, at least.
Yeah.
In China, Mexico, or Thailand, it may be referred to as some sort of ghost or specter. In Cambodia, their sleep paralysis is believed to be caused by what is translated as the ghost that pushes you down.
Mm.
We also found that culture and region may not only play a role in what you experience during an episode of sleep paralysis, but also in how often it is experienced. For example, the more you fear having the experience of sleep paralysis, the more likely it will happen. Sort of a manifestation sort of thing. I found a comparison between Egypt and Denmark. Egypt has a high rate of episodes, and the episodes experienced have longer durations. Egypt is a region where people typically believe in jinn, a malevolent spirit-like creature that is responsible for these sleep disturbances. So they have a greater fear of sleep paralysis and the fear of death from sleep paralysis, whereas in Denmark, about 17% of those who experience sleep paralysis only experience it as an odd physiological event and don't fear it or fear of dying from it.
And experiences seem nightmarish, quite literally. They all point to how universal the human experience is and how we tend to personify our fears and anxieties, regardless of culture, religion, or race. Sleep paralysis is scary because in that moment we have no control, a moment when our bodies betray us, and it might seem that our minds are turning against us, or maybe they aren't. Through what scientific understanding we have, the folklore and personal accounts shape will be given to the formless, turning personal fears into shared stories. As long as we keep experiencing waking up and then actually waking up, the jinn, the incubus, and their nightmarish cousins will never really disappear.
Have you encountered sleep paralysis? We would love to hear your stories, and we'll be leaving our email address for you to send those in. We may feature these in future podcasts with your permission. And on top of that, we do have YouTube. I wanna state that here, since we're stating that we have an email address as well, which will be in there, which is in the podcast. I also want to say that we do have a YouTube channel now where we're starting to slowly get the episodes up there. Episode 1 is up there. So you
We
can
also have
watch
a
on YouTube
TikTok.
now. And a TikTok, yep. So we're getting there. We're just slowly adding all the social media right now.
Yep. We should be putting up, you get the announcement of what the next episode is going to be typically at the end of each episode, but there should be announcements of what we'll be recording next on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, go ahead and add us or follow us. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Those will be coming in slowly. So we're working on it. I'm excited.
Something else I'd like for all you listeners to actually add to the comments. If you're going to add a comment or put a comment down in there, or if you had no reason to, here's your reason to now. Because I was going to run a poll, but what is there that you'd like to have as the screen for the YouTube videos? Because right now, I just kind of have a loop playing through each video. But like Meshel, she suggested having gameplay, like video game of like Phasmophobia or something like that up on the back, so that you can sit there and listen while you have something to watch. If you don't want to watch it, it's not, it doesn't matter. Or we just have a black screen because some people like listening to things while they fall asleep. Give me your suggestions. Give me your ideas. Give me your thoughts. On top of that, though, I also wanted to say this to you, Meshel, about what we're talking about here with sleep paralysis, is because you brought in the scientific research and the scientific point of view and everything, and the spirituality and stuff like that, and how science doesn't nullify the spiritual
Right.
part of it.
Correct.
I find that really interesting, and I absolutely adore you for even bringing that up, because I feel like the fact that we have the scientific studies and stuff like that. We have these chemicals going through our brains, all these different things that will help us or make us experience something different. Just kind of boast the idea, at least in my head, and I'm sure a lot of other people's, that these natural chemicals running through our body, because we don't already use so much of our brain and whatnot and what have you. All these extra chemicals or all these other chemicals that are running through our brains at these different points and different times where we're not able to be awake for it or conscious of it really kind of boasts the idea that maybe these things are helping us pierce that veil, see through that veil, or dimensionally speaking, or anything like that. It's interesting to me.
Yeah, I do. I always try to be conscious of the fact that we do know a lot scientifically and understand a lot more scientifically than we did so long ago, like in the
Hmm.
days of Hippocrates and whatnot, but we still don't understand everything. And when it comes to the quote unquote veil that we bring up sometimes, there's a lot we don't understand about that as well.
Hmm.
And um, I never want to discount someone's experience. You know, like I said, I still have sleep paralysis at times, and I don't generally have the hallucinations with it. I, a lot of times, will come through it having an anxiety attack. And because of that, I do have the sense of doom that people experience with sleep paralysis at times. It's not the only time I ever have anxiety attacks.
Hmm.
So it's, you know, I think it's just honestly, it's a combination of the sleep disorder and the anxiety disorder working on me. It is my, I don't know, it's so many things, but everybody's experience is personal to them. And if someone has sleep paralysis and they see something and it terrifies them, that's real to you. Whether it's your brain doing something or you're actually experiencing something that is a paranormal phenomena, you know, that's, I'm, I don't know, just because a scientist or a group of doctors says, well, this is what your brain is doing, that's not actually happening. Your brain's making that up. I'm not going to tell you you're not experiencing something because you clearly are. A lot of people are.
Hmm.
So I think it may help us sometimes to understand what we do know about science regarding that sort of thing. I know it
Hmm.
helps me come through it a little bit easier for sure. But
Yeah.
I think maybe that's why I try to throw that out there.
No, I agree with you. I think the science part of things helps us understand more about our life and our world. I think science is important to understand a lot of things. So
Yeah. Yep.
that will wrap tonight's episode up. Let's close our books, close our tabs, and close our minds until next time when we discuss. Thank you, Michelle, for letting me talk about this. Doppelgangers. I'm Isaiah,
And I'm Michelle.
and this has been Shifting Veils.